Hey, Skiba News Nation family.
If you like what we do here on Skiba News Nation, please like
We're
and
live.
subscribe. And also share with others so we can grow the biggest truth-seeking community on the internet. Huge shout out to all of our Patreons out there. If you like bonus content, you want some extra Skiba News Nation stuff, please go to patreon.com/Skiba News Nation.
Welcome to Skiba News Nation, bringing you unfiltered views, news, interviews, discussions, and more. And now, here's your host, Jeremiah Skiba, award-winning musician and son of Rob Skiba.
With the son of the legendary Rob Skiba. Jeremiah Skiba, what's up?
With my great and insightful co-host, Mr. Jake Graham.
Dude, someone should do conspiracy news. It would be 10 times better than what you see on television.
It's like I don't even want to wake up.
He's on a quest for truth.
Huge is coming. We're building the world's largest truther convention. It's called TrutherCon.
This is the place where truthers unite to explore knowledge, ask tough questions, to challenge the mainstream narrative.
But it isn't just a convention. It's a movement for free thought, open discussion, and the right to question everything.
We are bringing in some of the biggest names of the truther community, so expect deep discussions, mind-blowing revelations, and connections with like-minded truth seekers.
If you feel like the truth is being hidden from you, this is where you need to be.
And the best part, it's 100% grassroots, built by truthers for truthers, straight from our Skiba News Nation family. TrutherCon will be a massive networking event. I believe this is going to be the most exciting truther event ever.
October 2025 in Dallas, Texas. We hope to see you there.
Hey, Skiba News Nation family. Me and Opa are here. We're here for episode 135 of Skiba News Nation, your weekly source of the latest news, controversial topics, conspiracies, forgotten history, and so much more. I'm your host, Jeremiah Skiba, and we are live today. So let's go ahead and play some current news. Is that okay, Opa?
Yep, let's get going.
Alrighty.
Hey, what's up, Jeremiah? Hey, Skiba News Nation. Thanks for joining us, guys. I have some very interesting news to cover this week. Before I get into it, just to help you understand that this part of my news is being recorded earlier in the day today because I am on site at the Homeless Outreach hip-hop concert in downtown Springfield, Missouri. And we're going to have a blast there. I have some really fun, hopefully live stuff planned for you guys after Jeremiah's Mysteries segment. So stick around. But I wanted the news to come across as well as possible because we have some really interesting things to cover, specifically around things that were happening simultaneous to Charlie Kirk's shooting earlier this week. Now, if you missed the live coverage of that, it was so live and fresh that we didn't even know he was no longer alive. That's how quick we jumped on the ball, trying to be current and help get information out there. But in retrospective, looking at a lot of the things that have happened this week, very interesting. Let's get into it.
Wouldn't it be crazy that while Charlie Kirk was dying yesterday, pretty much the same time the shooting happened, the Senate was voting on releasing the Epstein files, and Republicans actually voted to block it. So yeah. That'd be crazy. You know what else would be crazy?
The DOJ should immediately move to unseal all the Epstein documents in the Southern District of New York.
Yeah. Everything. Everything except the sexual assault material.
I think every file should be released to the public the same way as the JFK files.
That'd be crazy if that was just like 2 days ago. Yeah. Look, man, I was harsh on Charlie because he was very pro-Israel for a while. It seems like he had turned. And, I mean, I don't know. Am I going fucking crazy? Or what? By the way, did you know that a private jet took off like 10 minutes after the shooting, very close by, and then turned off its tracking? That is the code. If you got any pilots or people that can track that shit, get on it. Peace.
Members of Congress are actively being blackmailed. The Epstein playbook is being used on a daily basis. Jeffrey Epstein was not a financier. He was not a hedge fund manager. Jeffrey Epstein was a key player in a multi-decade blackmail operation against the most powerful people on the planet.
I think for me, an element of the melancholy of this is I just recently learned that a few years ago, Charlie Kirk made the life commitment to start to observe the Sabbath day and the feasts of Yah in the scripture. And I'm not directly familiar with his particular theology, but I have heard him be very pro-commandments. And he is very pro-Sabbath, as you can tell with this book that is going to be released in a few days or weeks. Charlie Kirk, Stop in the Name of God, Why Honoring the Sabbath Will Transform Your Life. Now, while it's more than just the Sabbath that Charlie Kirk stands up for, I think for our audience specifically, this is very interesting because as Sabbath keepers and Torah pursuant, observant believers in the Messiah, we had a lot in common with Charlie, and so it's that melancholy of loss of somebody that sees the truth that you recognize that has been taken from you in a way that now we're never going to have that opportunity to interact in the future, to have that conversation of, oh man, hey, you started to advocate for obeying his Torah, his commandments, his Sabbath. What changed for you? You know, that conversation we're never going to be able to have. And Charlie Kirk was 31 years old. He is 1 year older than me. And so, man, it's just, you know, kind of amazing to see that he was going so hard towards the truth that he started to hit on some very major points that have been very transformative, both in my life and even in the life of your dad, Jeremiah. Rob Skiba was a very big proponent of observing the Torah and keeping the Sabbath of the Most High as our love message to our Father in heaven. If you love me, keep my commandments, right? And so, man, that's just, you know, one element of this that I wasn't aware of before he died, that now I'm becoming aware that he was a greater advocate for truth than I realized just from those reels that would pop up on my feed. Yeah. Stop in the name of God. Why honoring the Sabbath will transform your life. Very interesting. Now, of course, because this is a very strange shooting. This is not just a zealous student. There were multiple false arrests of suspects. The actual shooter gets away. There's been a lot of people claiming there was CGI, and of course, upon further investigation myself, I do believe that Charlie Kirk was shot and killed. But check out just some of these videos circulating of people questioning the official narrative.
To pay attention to this. On Charlie Kirk's shooting, you see him right there? That's him debating with somebody here right before he gets shot. Right here. He got shot from his right-hand side, on that side, coming out here. You see the wall there? Right next to him is people and another wall. I'm going to make this make sense in a second.
Mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years. Counting or not counting gang violence?
All right, that's right when he gets shot. Right there. He got shot right then. Coming from that side of him, coming to here. Now see the wall? See the bleachers here? You see another wall there. They're saying he got shot from rooftop, which means he would have to be up from here, going down there, because he got shot from that side, coming out here. But I'm going to make something else very trivial. Where they said the shooter was, watch this.
A second later, he was shot in the neck in the middle of the quad, sitting underneath a banner that said, "The American Comeback." We know one round was fired.
Okay, now, from what I just showed you, he's here, facing that direction. That's the wall you were seeing. Those are the bleachers you were seeing. Those are the people you were seeing. He got shot from here going out there. Now they're saying he got shot from a shooter over here, which would make the trajectory basically...
Just a quick pause, but do you guys see him being in the center of a giant Hanukkah on the field? If you guys look closely, the shape of that field is an 8-branched Hanukkah looking candle stand shape, right? And the association with Mossad and JFK and just him turning against Israel. Oh man, look at it. 1, 2, 3, 4, and it even has kind of that shape, man. Obviously, this could just be coincidence, but how perfect does it fit the glove of conspiracy?
In his throat, out his back. Impossible. This is a cover-up, people. He was shot from this side, going out that side. I know that. I'm ex-military, guys. I know how a bullet works. And if you saw the canopy in the beginning, you couldn't see the canopy, or sorry, you couldn't see him from the canopy from up here, only from right here. Because the canopy was very low, and if you look, you could only see people up this high. And he was shot from this direction, going out to that direction. They're saying the shooter was there. 100% impossible. If something happens to me, guys, please understand. I'm just trying to uncover this. They're covering it up 1,000%.
Now, here's footage of the shooter crossing the roof, allegedly. Now, just like we saw in that report, the angles are questionable. But this is better footage of the man who was seen running in a distance and other footage. All right. Now, of course, this is the photos that have been released, the person of interest, and commenters on Reddit talking about how they really do believe this was a professional hit job. The shooter was professional. This was a hit, not a random act of violence. This was planned by someone high level. Don't be surprised if the person they said did this ends up dead before anyone but Trump's people get to talk to him. So this is what's been interesting about covering this shooting, is that there has been all number of different suspects. The first day there was an old man dragged out. Even we covered it in our live stream, the assumption that they were the suspect, the one that shot Charlie. And it looks like the shifting attention moved from several individuals. It wasn't just the old gentleman. There was also a trans individual that was being purported as the actual shooter, and now we have this guy. I think personally, when looking at this topic, I see a lot of incendiary language from both sides. They want an absolute civil war breakdown. You see it being pushed politically from the left. with their language and their rhetoric and obviously their actions. Although this seems to be more of a contracted hit rather than just a flaming liberal, right? So anyways, there have been other things coming out on the news concurrently to the shooting that are accentuating this fear and propagation of this trauma event that we've all experienced together. For example, check this out. At the Democratic National Headquarters on the 11th, police respond to a bomb threat. Oh, don't worry, it was deemed not credible. But the timing of this in comparison to when Charlie was shot just the day after is significant. Do you guys see the pattern we're putting together here? So here's the other thing I found interesting. Apparently there was a book published the day before it happened, and somebody took a screenshot. It's not edited. Go look it up on Amazon yourself. It's this book, The Shooting of Charlie Kirk, a comprehensive account of Utah Valley University attack, the aftermath, and America's response. Published on September 10th, 2025, like in this chat, right, when he was actually shot. But look here at the publication date in the bottom. September 9th, 2025. So seeing things like this, absolutely crazy. Now, part of me wonders if there's not kind of a glitch in the Amazon listing process where you can go in and retroactively change things so that you can jump on things like this. Now, they said it's taken down. Yeah. So they're claiming that it's been removed. So this in itself could also be just trumping up falsehood. However, worth paying attention to if it actually was published the day before he was shot. So in the pursuit of the assassin, Stephen Crowder reported ATF internal communications that say they found the rifle likely used to assassinate Charlie Kirk, and the bullets were engraved with transgender and anti-fascist slogans. Very interesting. So this was some reports here. Yeah. No joke, Rachel. I feel this was a setup, honestly, to start a war and create mass chaos and violence in America. Yeah. When we all go through trauma together, we have to let that stress out somehow. And of course, this is like the collective vibe we're all feeling, right?
Winds in the east, mist coming in. Like something is brewing, about to begin. Can't put me finger on what lies in store. But I feel what's to happen. All happened before.
So let's just pause here on this little freeze frame that says NATO invoked Article 4. When was the last time Article 4 of NATO was invoked? Now, this is the article that's invoked because they claim Russia flew in NATO airspace over Poland. But when was the last time Article 4 was invoked? Let's look. So the last time Article 4 was invoked was in 2022. However, there was an association with the next step up, right? Article 5 being activated on September 12th, 2001. Wow. So this shooting happening right on the eve of September 11th. As these world events play out and we see these NATO articles being invoked at the same time, interesting.
But let's begin this morning with what's happening in Europe. The leaders of Ukraine and NATO are all lashing out at Russia for what Poland calls an act of aggression. The Polish prime minister says more than a dozen Russian drones were shot down entering Poland's airspace overnight. The drones crossed into Poland during a massive attack on targets in Ukraine along the border. It's the first ever airspace violation for a member of NATO. Secretary General Mark Rutte said that all are ready to respond.
Whether it was intentionally or not, it is absolutely reckless. It is absolutely dangerous. But as I said, the full assessment is ongoing. And to Putin, I mean, my message is clear. Stop the war in Ukraine. Stop the escalating war, which he is now basically mounting on innocent civilians and civilian infrastructure. Stop violating allied airspace. And know that we stand ready. That we are vigilant and that we will defend every inch of NATO territory.
CBS News foreign correspondent Ramy Inocencio is in London. He is monitoring the situation for us and joins us at this hour. All right, Ramy, just break down the latest information that you're getting at this moment.
Yeah, Vlad. Well, first off, Poland's prime minister is mincing no words. Donald Tusk saying that his country is now at its closest to open conflict ever since World War II. And reminder, NATO was established back in 1949, and he says this is a clear provocation. Poland is now assessing the damage to homes and property. You can see some of the aftermath video there, potentially the remains of one of those drones. Poland's Interior Ministry says that it found at least 7 drones, the remains of one unidentified object as well. Most were in eastern Poland, of course, bordering Ukraine slightly to the south and Belarus slightly to the north, which, remember, that country is a Russian ally. But 2 other drones, those are found in central Poland and southern Poland, Vlad, and that is farther from the borders. Flight tracking website Flight Radar also showed passenger planes avoiding the capital's airspace that you can see on your screen there. But at the same time, Flight Radar also notched 2 military planes. One was a NATO refueling tanker. Another was a Polish early warning aircraft that did take off and did patrol the skies over Poland's capital. NATO had those discussions that will happen under NATO's Article 4. The other question that's being thrown out there, was this an attempt by Putin maybe to test what NATO might do if it were attacked? That is what Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has already been saying, along with defense analysts that are weighing in. But to your question, NATO, yes, has activated Article 4. Well, what does that mean? This means that the bloc, the 32 members that make up NATO, will now start to consult on what has happened. This is basically Warsaw, and this is Warsaw raising its hand, basically saying everyone needs to come together to consult. And yes, that is different from Article 5. A reminder, Article 5, if NATO does invoke that, basically they're saying this is an attack against one member, and this is an attack against all members. That is that is what the directive is there.
Just briefly, I want to make sure to show this video that they got the other angle of the man running on the roof.
So there's somebody on the roof right there? Just saying? He just ran from over, where's my finger? Whoa, from over there, ran in, and now he's right there. Just...
Some various other footage coming out around the world. Here was one claiming the Israeli prime minister was being rushed to the government building in Jerusalem. Something is going on. Now, we're also covering other things that are being announced following this shooting. Now, as France's government starts to collapse, we have the announcements that French President Macron will be supporting Palestine statehood at the UN General Assembly on September 23rd. The post reads, in my opinion, this makes it official. They will be pushing for the 2-state solution on the Feast of Trumpets, September 22nd through 24th at the UN General Assembly. Although they might also just be supporting Israel because their whole government's collapsing and they hope that whatever they do, they can, win the heart of the people back, I guess.
In the country into significant. Right now, the French government has officially collapsed, plunging the country into significant political and uncertain turmoil for the near future. The French prime minister that has been in power for just about 9 months or so lost a no confidence vote in the parliament. And as a result, he must now resign from the government, step down from this position of power, and leaving France without a functioning government, essentially. Now, there is still President Macron, and the executive branch still functions and can operate the day-to-day duties of the country. But the parliament is effectively frozen. Without a prime minister, the French government is now again in political turmoil. Here's what happens next. Macron has a number of options. He can appoint a caretaker government. But here's the thing, both opposition parties in the parliament don't really want another kind of centrist prime minister leading. So we're going to see what happens next. Spread the word. I'll do a full breakdown on my Substack link.
Following the breakdown, police are now struggling to contain the Block Everything protest in Paris. And these are scenes from 2 days ago, which is, also the day Charlie was shot. But guys, it's not just France that's collapsing, and of course all the different protests happening around the world, the biggest being Nepal completely resetting their government after deleting TikTok. Check this out.
Nepal are going absolutely haywire? What do you mean? Oh, well, after they forced the prime minister to go ahead and step down a few hours ago, they went ahead and set fire to the nation's parliament building. Okay. But it doesn't stop there. No, things ramped up even further after that. Yeah, they weren't done. So what happened next is they actually captured the country's finance minister. And then what they decided to go ahead and do is strip him down to his undies, parade him around the cities, and then they went ahead and tossed him in the river, and they have full video footage of all this unfolding. Okay. Oh, you thought it stopped there? No. What then happened is they started setting fire to politicians' houses, including the ex-prime minister's house, while the wife was still inside there and ended up burning alive. Oh, goody. Oh, but then protesters decided to break into 2 different prisons where 773 inmates escaped, as well as 127 in another prison. So it looks like things are shaping up pretty good over there in Nepal. Okay.
This country gave us birth. We are bounded by the chains of unemployment. Fleeing abroad in search of opportunities. We are trapped by the selfish games of political parties. Corruption has woven a web that is extinguishing the light of our futures. Youth, rise! We are the torch bearers of change. If we do not raise our voices, who will? We are the fire that will burn away the darkness. We are the storm that will sweep away injustice and bring prosperity. Our ancestors shed their blood to give us this nation. We cannot sell it. We cannot lose it. Now we must decide. Will we drown in the darkness of despair or rise at the sun of hope? Will we change the fate of this nation or will we let it remain in shackles? King Birendra once said, even if I die, shall my country live on? All the youths, carry these words in your heart and engrave a monument of change in the course of history. Nepal is ours, and its future is in our hands. Jai Yuva! Jai Nepal!
And 100,000 kids tore their government apart. But here's what the media isn't telling you. This was never about apps. It was about quantum detonation. Frequency overload equals reality collapse. What you just witnessed in Nepal wasn't political unrest. It was a scroll-coded mirror collapse. When a government censors frequency-based platforms. It is not about safety. It's an attempt to muzzle electromagnetic sovereignty because your brainwaves are programmable. TikTok equals a global dopamine feedback loop. Banning it equals cutting off the nervous system of a scroll-coded generation. The result? Timeline compression plus suppressed charge equals nervous system rebellion. In physics, this is called non-linear resonance collapse. A small push at the right frequency shatters the whole structure. That's why you saw Parliament torched, ministers chased into rivers, fiat illusions crashing in real time, and the masses didn't even know what they activated. If you felt that collapse
Okay, so here's a little news story from last week, which shows why you should be very careful with groupthink and mob mentality. All right, check this out. Today in Turkey's Van province, 333, interesting number, sheep plunged to their deaths after following one sheep off a cliff. Now, how does this happen, like, with people, right? Follow the leader right into civil war, or not, right? Let's not do that. All right, let's go in a slightly different direction. This next clip is once again of Charlie Kirk, but specifically one of the messages that he regularly was championing. And then we're going to talk about another video Elon Musk dropped related to this topic. Check this out.
So that's all pretty amazing evidence, not just intra-biblical evidence, but extra-biblical evidence that Jesus Christ was a real person. He lived a perfect life. He was crucified, died, and rose on the third day, and he is Lord and God over all.
Could this be why Charlie had to be taken out? Because of his outspoken words promoting the gospel? Or perhaps it was his slowly developing anti-Israel Zionistic state views? Or was it the fact that he was calling people out for being blackmailed on the Epstein list? We don't know. But we do see this popping up on September 10th. And it was a video clip of Elon Musk talking about how if you take away religion, you get something in its place which is worse. So what religion do we really need, right?
And if you take away religion, then I think you actually you get something in its place which is actually worse than what was there before. I mean, it's like destructive, basically. You get like the woke mind virus, filling the hole that religion used to have, taking the place of religion. You get these dystopian de facto religions that are very very self-destructive. So I think perhaps some sort of revival of religion, or at least what we need is some coherent philosophy that people can get excited about. Nature abhors a vacuum, and if you take away religion, then I think you actually you get something in its place which is actually worse than what was there before. I mean,
by the way, this was also announced on the day that Charlie Kirk was shot. RFK Jr. and Pam Bondi announcing nationwide raids taking place on Chinese vape products that include formaldehyde and other toxic poisons. Interesting.
And Gary Seralta. And Gary Seralta. Gatti Saralta at the U.S. Marshals, an attorney, and U.S. Attorney Boudreaux, and all the people at ATF, at the Marshals Service, at FDA, who participated in this raid. During the Biden administration slow-walked approvals of U.S.-made vapes. Those companies were behaving responsibly. They were sharing consumer information. They were putting appropriate labels. They weren't using bubble gum and candy-coated flavors and these vivid colors to attract kids. And they were including chips in all their products to deter young people from using them. Because of the vacuum that was left by the failure to timely approve U.S. products, Chinese products flooded the market. And those products, there are now 9,000 brands of e-cigarettes being sold in this country. Only 27% have FDA approval. They're coming from China. This is a typical one. It's designed to attract children. It's pina colada flavored. It's made in China. And this is pretty typical. And these include all kinds of contaminants, including formaldehyde and THC and things that we don't know about because there's been no FDA approval. These products are illegal in China. So the Chinese government, the CCP, will not allow this. You will go to jail and worse in China if you try to sell this to Chinese citizens. They're making products there that they believe are so dangerous they can't sell to their own citizens, and they're dumping them here in our country. And the Chinese are getting richer while our children get sicker. And we're putting an end to that between August 1st and August 14th in partnership with the ATF. FDA did purchases at distributors in 5 different states, in Illinois, New Jersey, North Carolina, Arizona, and we did more in California and Florida with ATF. ATF actually went to 14 different retailers. Our agency went to 5 different distributors. And the result is today we are doing raids, these kind of operations across the country to confiscate the vapes. Today, these gentlemen from ATF and FDA confiscated 50 truckloads of this material, and 90% of it comes from China. So these kind of operations we're doing to target the biggest distributors and also to send a message throughout this entire industry that this will not be tolerated anymore, that there's a new sheriff in town, her name is Pam Bondi, and that we are going to target these Chinese vapes and stop them from poisoning our children.
And breaking news just in a few hours ago, United Nations has voted 142 to 10 in favor of endorsing the New York Declaration, which calls for the establishment of a state of Palestine. Among those alleged allies of Israel, namely India and Azerbaijan, voted in favor of creating a Palestinian state. The few who voted against the measure including Argentina, Hungary, Israel, and the United States. Buckle up, things are about to get really interesting. Just the other day, we also had this footage of Sweden's health minister Elisabeth Lehn collapsing during a press
lära oss allt om paragraf 5-förordnanden, eller hur Jakob?
Ja, det tänker jag vi har i en särskild övning möjligen. Hälso- och sjukvården.
Oof. So, yeah, health ministers falling over. I wonder how much they take their own medicine. We saw this a lot during 2020. Public officials falling over. Interesting. There's also been some new footage surfacing showing a U.S. missile bouncing off a UFO.
Thank you, everyone. It takes such great courage to come forward, and we acknowledge that, and I hope that you see that we are taking that seriously. And so very thankful for what you're doing today. I'm also very thankful for previous witnesses that have come forward. I see Matthew Brown in the audience. He courageously stepped forward and was as a witness. I encourage everybody to look and seek his testimony. I want to thank the people that came in our first hearing: Ryan Graves, David Grush, David Fravor. And in our second hearing, Admiral Gallaudet, Lou Elizondo, and Mr. Gold. And the many others that have come forward. We hear you, and it's time that we, enough is enough. It's time that we take action. Look, I'm not jumped to the conclusion that I believe that there are, aliens coming from another planet. But I'm open to that. And I think that it's our responsibility, especially when we're seeing that we have a government that is actively blocking information from us. Just last night, I tried to get an amendment onto the National Defense Authorization Act that fit in the germaneness of that bill to have UAP disclosure. And conveniently, it was named non-germane, mostly deemed by staff, not even an elected official. This is the kind of stuff that we repeatedly see. Last year, we were blocked by someone in House administration from being able to receive a full briefing from Arrow. So not an elected official, but someone in staff blocked us. And I've had it. Enough is enough. I want to cue up a video that I've been given. And as before it starts, I'm going to describe. This was taken October 30th of 2024. This video is of an MQ-9 drone tracking an orb, or this object, off the coast of Yemen. You'll see that another MQ-9 launched a Hellfire missile. That you cannot see that drone, and so I'm not going to explain it to you. You'll see exactly what it does. This is when it zoomed out, so you can still see it traveling. So, Mr. Knapp, have you heard about events like this occurring, and what information might you have?
I have heard about events like this. I have heard about this event. Jeremy Corbell and I talked about it in one of our episodes a while back. We did not have the video, though. There are servers where there's a whole bank of these kind of videos that Congress has not been allowed to see, that the public hasn't been allowed to see. Occasionally, some of that stuff gets out in the wild, and it comes our way. It should be going to you. The public should be seeing this stuff. And why you're not allowed to, I don't know. But that's a Hellfire missile smacking into that UFO and just bounced right off. And it kept going.
It kept going, and it looks like the debris was taken with it.
Yeah, what the hell is that? What
again,
flies like that?
Again, I'm not going to speculate what it is, but the question is, why are we being blocked from this information consistently? I want to ask this just question. How in the world, this is the document, I want to enter this in for the record if it hasn't already been entered, Madam Chair. The document that you provided on thread 3, this is a huge file. How in the world did you smuggle this out of Russia?
Carefully.
In your socks?
I don't think I want to be really specific about it because I might have to go back there and get some more sometime. Although,
okay.
No, that'd be crazy to do that. Well, I took the top pages off that were stamped with a security signature, and I carried them out on my person. But the rest of them I just threw in my suitcase and threw some caviar in there as a distraction as well, and hoped for the best. Otherwise, I'd be a citizen of Siberia right now.
And you had you reported James Lakatsky came to you with government possession of NHI craft and how they ultimately gained entry. Can you testify to the veracity of that claim?
Dr. Lukatsky is an honorable man who served most of his career with the DIA, a very trusted, high-level rocket scientist and intelligence analyst who inspired the OSAP program, as I said earlier. And in full disclosure, I've co-written 2 books with him. He dropped this on myself and our other co-author out of the blue. And it took 14 months for us to get DOPSR approval for him to release 2 sentences on that. He said this craft, we had managed to get inside of it. It had no wings, no rotor, no tail. It had no fuel tanks. They didn't know how it flew or how it was operated. It clearly looked like it was aerodynamic, but he would not go further. He's a by-the-book guy, and until he gets clearance to say more about that, I don't think we're going to hear much more. But it's not ours. It wasn't ours. We didn't make it. We didn't know who made it and how it was built and how it operated. We've got at least one. And I don't know, I think that's enough confirmation that we do have recovered discs and materials.
Leslie, Mr. Borland, in the classified realm, have you been exposed to undeniable confirmation of NHI technology? And then my second question is Base Systems involved in any way with reverse engineering exploitation of non-human intelligence craft?
Yeah, we're gonna have to have a conversation this Skip for that. Whether I'm legally even allowed to answer that, and whether you're even allowed to hear it, sir.
Okay. Again, you can sense our frustration, and so I just want to thank you for coming forward. We will continue to fight because look, this is about making sure that this government belongs to the people and restoring the republic the way it was intended to be.
Yeah, here's just one more look at that Hellfire missile bouncing off an orb. Filmed last October. Boom. Look at that again. Boom. All right. I'm the techie guy. Enhance. Enhance. Look at this. Boom. What in the world, man? What a trip. Oh, by the way, recently an experimental Brazilian drug restores mobility to people with quadriplegia. Created from a protein extracted from human placenta. Polylamins was developed in secret for 25 years by researchers at UFRJ Rio University.
Ó, fecha. Abre os dedos. É meio bugado, entendeu? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9... 10, arrasou!
Just takes human placenta. Here's an interesting one. A woman was found living above a store sign at a supermarket.
The rooftop sign of a Michigan grocery store now has to find a new home. Midland police say she had a computer, a printer, even a coffee maker in the triangle-shaped sign enclosure at the top of the Family Fare store. Contractors recently found her setup while curiously tracing an extension cord. Employees had an idea that someone had been climbing up to the roof for the past year. They even had names for her, like the Roof Ninja.
We just kind of referred to her as the ski mask girl. They had called the police a few times, but by the time the cops got here, she was already gone.
Police say the woman does have a job, but nowhere to live.
Feeling hungry? Apparently, pizza delivery by drones is now a thing. Now, how do you keep the birds from pooping in your pizza? In other cool entertainment technology news, flyboard performance at the Tang Dynasty Boxy Festival. Looking pretty sweet. I feel like I want to be a hoverboard warrior now. So cool. Well, if all war does break out, and we happen to be fighting an aquatic battle against something that a sword might do, well against, not drones or anything like that, but this would definitely be the way to be the coolest warrior on the water, if you know what I mean. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I'm going to leave you with one meme before I go, and we might have some cool live stuff. If it doesn't work out, no worries. I know we have an awesome Opa's Corner and History's Mystery segment coming up. Now, they have apprehended a suspect in the shooting of Charlie Kirk, and just all these things that are rolling out this month. Pretty interesting. Now, here's the meme. From the perspective of plants, lions are their protectors, while herbivores are evil creatures. Oh, man. All right, Jeremiah, Opa, that's all the news for this week. And Opa, I know you have some clips possibly if you still wanted to play those after this segment. Let's fill it up as much as possible. And thank you guys for listening. And if you have any thoughts as to these recent events that have been playing out, the coming two-state solution being announced on the Feast of Trumpets very soon, the collapse of government by legislators deleting TikTok, and then the youth rising up, the collapse of France's government, and then we have Article 4 being passed because of Poland's airspace being violated. The bells of World War II, were reminiscent of those days when Article 5 was announced during 9/11. All this stuff happening the day before 9/11, Trauma cycles. Trauma causes stress. Stress causes motion because you want to get out of that uncomfortable position. And then therein lies the way of control. Because when you start to move, they just need to point you in the right direction. All right, guys, thanks for listening.
All right, Jake, thank you for another great current news as always. And now a quick look at my new book, Charlie's Big Adventures Around the World or Not. He's right over here, the real one. Let me see if I can get you to see him while we're waiting. In the mail today. I open it up, see what it is. Charlie. Look at that. Charlie, look at this. Look. It's you. Charlie's Big Adventures Around the World. We're gonna flip through it. Look at all that. Look at that thing.
Here they are.
Two Danish boys. So now if you guys buy this in our Babylon Rising bookstore, you get a free signed copy for the same price. So I just wanted to throw that out there. If you guys want a special edition of the book, go there.
Check out our new and improved BabylonRisingBooks.com, where you can get Rob Skiba books, bundles, DVDs, DVD-ROMs, videos, and so much more. You can even get Sheila and Jeremiah's books, so check it out now.
All right, well, it's about that time for an all-new Opa's Corner. Take it away, Opa.
Mein Hut, der hat 3 Ecken. 3 Ecken hat mein Hut. Und hat nicht 3 Ecken, dann ist es nicht mein Hut.
The strange, the bizarre, the unexpected. These are the kinds of subjects a man named Robert L. Ripley challenged us to believe it or not.
Believe it or not, you.
Wally, believe it or not.
Believe it or not.
Believe it!
You're a loony.
The liver is the only visceral organ that can regenerate, able to regrow to full size even after 90% is removed. Believe it or not. Scientists say that adulthood may not fully begin until your 30s, as the brain continues to develop well past the age of 18. Believe it or not. An Argentine appeals court ordered Google to pay $12,500 to a man photographed naked in his backyard by a Street View car. Believe it or not. A New Zealand cat named Leo earned the nickname Leonardo da Vinci after over a course of 9 months stole around 150 items, mostly underwear. Believe it or not. In 1982, Ozzy Osbourne was banned from San Antonio for peeing on the Alamo. He later returned to apologize and donate $10,000 to its restoration. Believe it or not. Turtles age so slowly that their organs barely deteriorate, leading scientists to believe that they might be biologically immortal if they dodge predators and disease. Believe it or not. In 2025, McDonald's launched Double XL fries in Malaysia. Believe it or not. Marge was a New Zealand cow discovered in 2001 to naturally produce low-fat milk. Believe it or not. In 1910, Theodore Roosevelt became the first U.S. president to fly in an airplane, and he nearly fell out while waving to the crowd below during his 4-minute flight over St. Louis, Missouri. Believe it or not. Paul McCartney and George Harrison once took a multi-bus trip across Liverpool to visit a stranger who could teach them the B7 chord. Believe it or not. Sea lions are the only non-human mammal known to keep a beat. Believe it or not. Filmmaker Tyler Perry once fired his entire accounting team after finding out the IRS owed him $9 million. Believe it or not. In 2020, the U.S. Library of Congress chose to preserve Shrek in the National Film Registry for being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. Believe it or not. The cat Marlon Brando pets in the opening of The Godfather was unplanned. It was a stray the director found in the studio just before filming. Believe it or not. Mary Poppins songwriter Robert Sherman was inspired to write A Spoonful of Sugar after a doctor used a sugar cube to give Sherman's son his polio vaccine. Believe it or not.
What if I told you dinosaurs might have never existed at all? Yeah, I know, it sounds crazy, but stay with me. The word dinosaur wasn't even created until 1842. And guess what? That's also around the same time the first dinosaur bones just happened to be discovered. Before that, nothing. No talk of giant lizards, no museum bones, no ancient records calling them by name. And here's the part that gets real weird. We've never found a full dinosaur skeleton, ever. Just random bones, scattered, broken, and dug up by people who get paid to find them. Then, museums take those pieces and build giant skeletons based on guesses. They even use plaster and fake bones to fill in the gaps. So ask yourself, what if the idea of dinosaurs was created to support something else? To help push the theory of evolution? To make us feel small and unimportant in a long, random universe? And what about all those ancient stories of dragons, giant creatures with wings and scales? Why were those erased and replaced with scientific versions called dinosaurs? You didn't see the fossils. You saw cartoons, museums, Hollywood. That's not proof. That's a program. Maybe dinosaurs were never real. Maybe they were just the cover story.
This is just a theory, not a fact.
What if I told you the Titanic wasn't just a sinking ship, but a hit job? There were 3 billionaires on that ship: John Jacob Astor IV, Benjamin Guggenheim, and Isidor Straus. All 3 of them, so powerful and rich, didn't support the creation of the U.S. Federal Reserve. That's the private bank system we live under today. Then what happened? None of them made it out alive. But J.P. Morgan, the man who helped create the Federal Reserve, he paid for the Titanic. He had a ticket, a private suite, luggage packed, but at the last minute, he didn't go. No real reason. He just stayed home. He lived. They died. And 1 year later, the Federal Reserve Act was passed. Coincidence? Now, here's the twist. Some say the ship that sank wasn't even the Titanic. It was her sister ship, the Olympic, an older, damaged ship. They say it was swapped out for insurance money. And the shipwreck found at the bottom, some of the details don't match the Titanic's design. So, what if the sinking wasn't an accident? What if it was a plan to remove the people who could stop the Federal Reserve from taking over? A setup, quiet, deadly, covered by time and the ocean. Yeah, this wasn't about a boat. This was about control.
This is just a theory, not a fact.
They say the towers came down because of the planes. But what if that's not the whole truth? Watch this.
There were also hundreds of thousands of square feet of spray-on fireproofing to be removed throughout both buildings. And then there were the elevators. This is the list of elevator shafts with asbestos-containing material as of December 2000. This is Tower 1. And this is Tower 2. Reportedly, by the year 2000, the Port Authority was looking at an asbestos abatement bill of as much as $1 billion, the same money it would have cost to build a brand new tower. Back in the 90s, the Port Authority had sued the insurance companies, trying to get them to cover the cost of the asbestos removal. But in May 2001, 4 months before the terrorist attack, the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey lost their 10-year-old court battle. At that point, the Port Authority was between a rock and a hard place. The Twin Towers could no longer be maintained without incurring the cost of asbestos removal, yet they could not be demolished because of the large amounts of asbestos they contained. The only remaining option was to dismantle and remove the 2 poison-filled giants one piece at a time. But the cost of such an operation would have been so astronomical that no one has ever tried to put a number on it.
Some insiders claim the real problem was inside the walls. Outdated asbestos-based fireproofing. The cost to safely remove or replace it. In the billions. Was the attack used to cover up an impossible cleanup? Or worse, to erase evidence of something deeper tied to black budget operations and energy experiments happening on the upper floors? Because if it wasn't just the planes.
World Trade Center building number 7 wasn't hit by a plane. But on 9/11, it collapsed in seconds, straight down into its own footprint. The BBC reported the collapse on the air 20 minutes before it actually happened, while the building was still standing. The New York Times blamed flaming steel and falling bodies. Steel doesn't catch fire, but sure. It's the only steel skyscraper in the history of mankind to collapse from office fires. There's that. And yet, no mass engineering panic and no re-examination of worldwide building codes. That's strange. Just silence. Maybe because Building 7 housed CIA, FBI, SEC, and Secret Service offices, and happened to be filled with sensitive government documentation and information, including massive investigations into Wall Street fraud. So maybe the real question isn't how it fell, but why, and what's buried underneath the rubble.
At the Zoom annual company picnic. Your new shed looks great, Dan, and it looks like you've lost a few pounds. I don't know, Andy. Mom said we're never to go near the old Sutton place. So then, would that be us the people, or we the people? They demanded their own private space, and you gave it to them? That's Frosty. He wanted to be cremated. Shove it off the counter. Gently nudge it off the counter. I tell you, a crib is just plain worthless. What we need around here is a good cardboard box. You've been out partying all night again, haven't you? All right, who ate all the candy? At the Cicadas. What are you wearing? That's it? You're not going out until you're 17. At Kitten School. Today's lesson, how to use a litter tray. Too neat, too tidy. You are cats. Come on, kick it up. Get it on the floor. Make a mess. Mr. President, we've just countered the Russian attack by launching our entire nuclear arsenal. Thanks for watching my post, Colonel. I really had to go... hey! Who activated my screensaver? Glog just invented the barbecue grill. Thank God. Try not to mention his power lines, Trim. There was a devastating tornado. The player to your left gets to bat everything off the board. Yes. Oh, who's gonna tell him? Google. You ought to try one of these e-books, Arlene. They're getting more and more like real books all the time. This one's got an app for paper cuts. This one will require attention to detail and a bit of mental exertion. Then you'll groan while smiling to yourself. The usual. She's the third person we brought in this week with multiple lacerations from trying to get a cat to swallow a pill. I'm afraid we're going to have to head back, folks. We got a warning light on up here. And darn if it isn't a big one. The trash won't empty by clicking on the trash icon. You will have to physically take it out. We couldn't decide if you're guilty or not, so we're just going to burn the roof of your mouth. Aliens faking the Earth landing in 1969. My theory is that these statues were originally on the beach. You're a genius, Professor. Take me to your stove. You idiot! Give me that book. Suddenly, Professor Leibowitz realizes he has come to the seminar without his duck. So, until next week, adios, amoebas. Huh, neat. Cold and hot running water. Driver alert. No Dollar Generals for the next 6.5 miles. Remember, if the world didn't suck, we'd all fall off. And that concludes another Opa's Corner. Opa's Corner is now available on my own YouTube channel. Like, share, and subscribe.
Thank you, Opa, for another great Opa's Corner. Now, a quick word from our friend Kristen. content creator, podcaster, or show host trying to do it all on your own. Booking guests, moderating chats, creating timestamps, and scheduling interviews, it's exhausting. That's where Kristen and Fellow Helper Agency comes in. Kristen is the ultimate behind-the-scenes pro. She makes sure your show runs smooth from start to finish. Whether it's securing an amazing guest, keeping your community engaged, or handling the scheduling chaos, you can count on her. Imagine focusing on creating great content while Kristen takes care of all the rest. Professional, reliable, and trusted. If you're serious about growing your show and building your audience, you need Kristen on your team. Visit fellowhelperagency.com today because the right help changes everything. Thank you, Kristen. So now it's time for History's Mysteries.
Sorry. That one didn't
We
get
are
copied.
live, ladies and gentlemen. Hang tight.
That one didn't get copied, so we'll just go right into it, okay?
Pretend it's there. Okay. So this week for History's Mysteries, we're going to be talking about the friend that Joe Rogan wants you guys to forget about. And this whole story, it's UFC, it's true crime, it's crazy. And I tried to re-find it, and I couldn't re-find it. So I'm glad I downloaded it when I did. So I broke it up into 3 parts. So let's go ahead and play this first one.
Before the UFC was a billion-dollar empire, before Joe Rogan became its most recognizable voice, the world of no-holds-barred fighting was a different place. Lawless, loud, brimming with true believers and professional pretenders. Among the wild cast of early characters stood one name you almost never hear Rogan speak today. Not because he wasn't important, but because his story spiraled into something darker than most fans could ever imagine. His name was Gerald Strebent. And his ride to the golden age of MMA, from fake black belts to special forces to tragedy, is the story Joe Rogan quietly walked away from. Coos Bay, Oregon, a fishing town set up in America's mid-80s karate boom. It was here that a charismatic martial arts instructor, Rafael Torre, opened his East-West dojo, promising greatness, tournaments, and discipline. And among the mesmerized kids who came to train stood a teenager named Gerald Strebent, nephew of Torre's wife. What Gerald didn't know was that Rafael Torre wasn't who he claimed to be. Not a legitimate black belt, not a world champion, but the myth was powerful. And for a hungry kid desperate for greatness, it was enough.
Rafael was a big deal in this town. Rafael had a karate school in this town of Coos Bay, Oregon. He was a big deal. I knew a friend who trained with him for a long, long time and said every time a movie would come out, Rafael was all of a sudden a master of that martial art. Started out karate from the Karate Kid. He was a great grandmaster, learned in Hawaii. All of a sudden, Steven Seagal has these great moves, hard to kill and all that. Rafael's teaching Aikido. I swear, every time Hollywood would put out a movie, Rafael all of a sudden then knew that martial art. I had competed as a wrestler in Rafael Torre's tournament called the Oregon State Submission Championships. And he had rented out this community center called the IWA Hall. And he brought in wrestling mats. We had people from all over coming to the Oregon State Submission Championship. I took second place. I got a picture in my little purple singlet with skinny legs and wrestling shoes. And Rafael handing me my ribbon and me shaking his hand.
Gerald's path, though, was supposed to follow a different uniform. The United States Marine Corps. He became a sniper, a precision shooter with a reputation for fearlessness and intensity. After the military, he drifted even deeper, working private security, allegedly stepping into the shadowy world of overseas contracting. But fate, or maybe obsession, pulled him back to the only thing that had ever truly lit his eyes on fire: fighting.
Rafael Torre. Rafael, being from Oregon, had moved down there to Southern California right off of the Marine base and started working on the Marine base. That's how I reunited with Rafael after quite a few years. I'm walking across the base of 29 Palms and I hear my first name, and you normally don't hear Gerald. Hey, Gerald. You hear Sergeant Strebent. So I look, and it's Rafael Torre, and he's on base. And he said, hey, I'm a lifeguard at the base pool. And I said, hey, are you training? And of course he said he's training. I said, well, they've got a mat room here. Let's start training. So Rafael and I start training at the mat room on base.
By the late 90s, Rafael and his wife Randy had moved to California. The heart of a new movement, jiu-jitsu, submission grappling, NHB fighting, was beating fast.
All of a sudden, he had to segue into jiu-jitsu, so it was his father, Julian, who actually was his stepdad here, trained in Brazil with the Gracies in the 50s as a merchant marine. That was the story. Yeah, it was nonsense. So it was only natural that when Royce Gracie won the UFC, well, of course, Royce's great uncle's cousin's brother was Rafael's secret trainer. And then I had enough money saved up from being deployed overseas to where I bought us a gym. I got us the mats and got a gym opened up out in town, and the rest we started training every day and had students and fighting, and that's how I got Rafael started. I paid the money to get the first gym going. He got fame. He made some money off this with the Prince of Abu Dhabi. I mean, he made a lot of money writing for Abu Dhabi. He got tickets to go. He got to go to Pride and announce all these Pride shows. He got to be in, I think, Rico Rodriguez's corner in Pride. He got, but his ego got in there. He started to really believe his own hype. I remember him hanging out with Josh Barnett and Mark Kerr. I got to go train with Mark Kerr, the Pride champion, he's on the Olympic wrestling team. Mark Kerr, the Smashing Machine. I just walk right into the Beverly Hills Jiu-Jitsu Club. There's Boss Rutan and Mark Kerr and Rico Rodriguez, and I get to just put my shorts on and start training because of Rafael. Said, "Oh, here's my nephew. Let my nephew train." He'd show up, socialize. He'd put his shorts on and get some pictures. He'd like to do the photo ops, but he would never do real training. Those guys they would know right away. He would have gone even a lot further if his ego kind of got in the way. So he would say, "I'm just going to do some moves. Let's just flow through some drills." He always had an excuse, but that only goes for so long. He did that for years.
Torre, lying about his lineage, began commenting on shows like Gladiator Challenge, slipping into rooms with real legends, Eddie Bravo, Jean-Jacques Machado, and most crucially, Joe Rogan, the enthusiastic new voice of the UFC.
So yeah, I would feel pretty weird wrapping my legs around somebody. I noticed somebody said, "What are your thoughts about the UFC and being Christian?" It's kind of weird. I don't know. I wouldn't do it, but that's just me. So this guy, Gerald Strebent, I hope I'm saying that right, was a UFC fighter who just wanted to help his friend, and they wanted to do a gym together. And then, that's where Eddie Bravo comes in. So we'll be getting into that with the second clip. So let's go ahead and play that.
With Torre as his mentor, Gerald Strebent suddenly had backstage access to every gym, every promoter, every opportunity. He became Eddie Bravo's first ever official student, years before Bravo would become a grappling icon.
Before 10th Planet, I was teaching jiu-jitsu to a guy named Gerald Strebent. He was a blue belt at the time. He was my first student.
We were really young. Eddie was a purple belt. I was a white belt. And Rafael would bring me from the high desert where we were living and training down to train with Eddie in Hollywood, there right in downtown where everything's happening. And he had this little teeny tiny bungalow house behind the real house. And he just rolled these little Velcro mats together. I mean, by today's standards, it was pretty funny. But we were back there working on this stuff from the very beginning. And then he would go back to Jean-Jacques' Academy, train there every day. And he would practice the stuff that he was, working on. And when I would fight, I would practice the stuff we were working on. I was just starting my career. I started fighting when I was only a blue belt.
Gerald Strebent goes right for the guard, pulls him in guard.
Oh, looks like he's running that rubber guard of yours, Eddie.
Joe Rogan was in the mix. He would come to Eddie's little mat area there, and we're talking 12 feet by 8 feet or something with a big metal pipe for the plumbing. That if you hit that, the training was over for the day. But yeah, Joe was there from the very beginning.
The skills were real now, the ambition even more so, but somewhere in the cracks, the truth about Torre was beginning to show.
Until Eddie finally exposed him. Eddie finally said, "This dude's not a black belt."
It was 2000. It was still in the dark ages. So It was easy for a guy to bust up. And he was on speed all the time. I didn't know this until, years later. He was always brought in on whatever show I was commentating, whether it was King of the Cage or Pride, or even a Too Hot to Handle. He was so busy. He was so amped up on speed. He always had articles. And to blow up shows, you bring Rafael Torre.
When he realized he was being lied to, when Eddie was 100% certain, he really rolled with Rafael and obviously beat him very easily, like he'd never trained a day in his life. So as soon as it was obvious that Rafael had been lying to Eddie, Eddie's like, "Fuck that guy." He came to me, and it's a hard thing to tell, because I was his nephew. I was Rafael's best guy. At that time I might have been his only guy, I think. But he said, "No, he's not a black belt, and he's fucking lying to us."
Are you fighting championship?
No, I just interview the fighters.
Joe Rogan loved finding tough, raw, dangerous up-and-comers, and for a brief window, Gerald Strebent was one of his guys. A sniper-turned-fighter with real jiu-jitsu under Eddie Bravo and nerves of steel under fire.
Yeah, Joe gave me a lot of money, paid for all my stuff, Joe was 100% the best to me ever. Joe drove down to Beverly Hills and put me up in a Beverly Hills hotel, like an apartment type hotel, for a month to train for a world title fight. I was fighting in England. Yeah, Joe paid for my training, like $225 or $250 a month with Jean-Jacques for 2 years. He just paid for it. Joe bought me food. Joe bought me training equipment. Joe was the best. Yeah, Joe was awesome to me. Joe, I never deserved all that wonderful things Joe did for me. Or Eddie. Eddie did a lot of great stuff for me too.
Strebent signed with the UFC in 2003, back when that almost meant nothing and almost everything. His debut in the UFC, however, was against lightweight prodigy Josh Thompson.
Standing 5 feet 9 inches tall, weighing in at 154 pounds, fighting out of Los Angeles, California. Please welcome Gerald, the finishing machine, Strebent.
And here we go. Again, Josh Thompson's got the superior stand-up skills, and Gerald's going to look to take this to the ground. Gerald's got a hold of a leg. Gerald Strebent's got excellent leg submissions. He's got it here. Gerald Strebent's got sick ground jiu-jitsu. His no-gi jiu-jitsu, it's all geared for mixed martial arts. This is all stuff that Eddie Bravo's invented. She keeps going for those counters. And now he's trying to finish. And it is all it. And it's all over. Josh Thompson has defeated Gerald Strebent.
The fight didn't go his way that night, an amalgamation of issues and drama outside the cage. The two men he trusted most, Rafael Torre and later Joe Rogan, were about to vanish from his life in very different ways.
Now, this next clip is where the true crime kind of comes into play, and it's kind of weird. I don't blame Joe Rogan for not wanting to be associated, and you'll understand after we watch this next clip. But it's amazing seeing the UFC before it was the UFC, and it being so small, because now it's like the biggest thing ever. So let's go ahead and learn about the true crime and what ended up happening to Gerald Strebent.
They called me, the cops called me because I called Gerald once, and when I was talking to Gerald on the phone was being tapped, and Gerald and I are talking about his possibility of him fighting the UFC, who's he want to fight, this and that, blah blah blah, and Rafael Torre's name comes up, and I'm like, what's going on with that dude? And so Gerald was like being tapped, and he was like talking to all these different people about it, and then everybody that he talked to on the phone, they had to talk to the cops, but I didn't really know anything. I didn't know the guy. I just knew the guy through Eddie.
Hello?
Rafael, it's Gerald, man.
Yeah, Gerald, hang on. Somebody woke up asking him. Dude, are you okay?
Yeah, dude, I'm fucked up from getting knocked out. I got a lot on my mind right now. My career right now is kind of shattered. I'm fucking absolutely broke from the UFC. I made $1,700, and and I had to pay over that to get my MRI and all that stuff done. So right now, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Well, you were calling me so much, and
I know I thought you were pissed at me. That's why I was like, oh my God.
No, dude. I mean, you were calling every 15 minutes the whole time in Vegas, and I was like, fuck. I was getting scared. I thought, I don't know what to do. So I wasn't gonna answer. Now, I'm on my way up to Oregon. I'm gonna be, I'm taking the Greyhound home because I can't afford to fly. So.
Okay, I'll get at least $200 to you on Wednesday. Okay.
Okay, that'd be great, man.
Man, I was working with the police during the build-up, the training part of the fight, and then while in Vegas, I would get phone calls from Rafael, and I don't even think I had a phone at that time, so he'd call Eddie Bravo or call Chris Brennan or whoever was around me and say, hand him the phone. So I had that going on, and I knew that the arrest was coming. I knew that it was imminent. I remember crying in my hotel room, just sitting there crying, and Chris Brennan, was like a big brother to me, just sitting there holding on to me, saying, "You're all right, man. It's just a fight."
So I want to say he owed Gerald $7,000, and I don't remember why, but he owed Gerald $7,000. That's where it all started.
I had enough money saved up from being deployed overseas to where I bought us a gym. I got us the mats, and that's how I got Rafael started. I paid the money to get the first gym going.
I'm fucking absolutely broke.
Rafael offers Gerald $10,000 to kill this guy who has $1 million life insurance policy because he's hooking up with this guy's wife.
It began on a drive from his house. I was living with him in Yucca Valley, And it started from a drive where I told him I'm going to train with Chris Brennan. And I already knew he was a fraud. I hadn't confronted him with it. But I said, Chris Brennan has got this incredible no-gi jiu-jitsu program. And he was like one of the first. He really was. And had really good jiu-jitsu, good students, had a real fight team, a professional team in uniforms. And he had an octagon. He had everything. He said, I want to go back down to Irvine, actually Lake Forest, and train in Orange County with Chris Brennan. So Raphael's driving me. And that's when he said, hey, he was interested in trying to find someone to help him get rid of his opposition. That's when he solicited me for that murder. I thought he was very, very straightforward with it. I understood immediately that the wife was trying to get me to kill her husband. I knew, I could tell. Raphael said Angel, the wife, Angel said her husband, Brian's abusive and that he's dangerous. And she is to the point she's afraid of him. And she would at this point like to get rid of him. And then Raphael's driving. He said she at this point is to the point she would like him just to be done, get rid of him, like to see him go away forever. And then he looks at me, and I'm in the passenger side, and I understand right away what he's saying. And she said, and she knows you're a sniper in the Marine Corps, and she's wondering if you would be interested, if you'd have any ideas, if you'd be interested. And I looked at him, and he said, and there'd be some money involved, like $10,000. Well, shit, you're asking me to kill this guy for her on her behalf. And I said, Raphael, I said, whoa, you're going to get wrapped up in this thing. And I didn't know the difference back then between jail and prison. You're going to end up in jail, and she's going to get this $1 million life insurance policy, because he said that she had $1 million policy on him. And sure enough, that's exactly how it played out. It's exactly 1 month later, a month and a half later, the guy's dead.
And we're sitting down to eat dinner, and Gerald didn't have a phone, and my phone rings, and it's Raphael. He asks for Gerald, so I give it to Gerald. And Gerald goes, what? And he goes, hold on. And he puts the phone to my ear, and Raphael says, man, you wouldn't believe it. They just found the dude dead, in his car. And I was like, and he took the phone back. That's literally all he said. He finishes the conversation with Gerald, and Gerald's like, bro, he had to kill him. He had to kill him. Gerald goes and sees him, finds out that he did kill him. And Gerald hits up Raphael and says, hey, I want my $7,000. And he says, I don't have it. He goes, if you don't pay me by the end of the week, I'm going to tell on you. I'm going to turn you in. I mean, at that point, dude, I robbed the bank to get the $7,000, but he didn't give him the $7,000. And Gerald tells on him.
Hi, it's Tom. I'm calling in regards to a guy that was murdered up there. His name's Brian Richardson. And I'm trying to find out if there's any kind of information, like a flyer or a website or anything that tells the development of the case and discusses, like where to call for reward information and stuff like that.
There may be a small reward available. Bottom line is, ultimately, even if there is a reward involved, in order to get that reward, it's upon successful conviction and prosecution. The other thing,
that testimony, requires more than like a $2,000 reward for someone to put their neck out.
Sure.
This is just not something they can, that's not even worth $2,000 to have a chance of ending up the same way.
Would you be willing to give me your name right now?
Gerald Streebent.
In 2001, Raphael Torre asked a student to help him kill a man. That student was Gerald Streebent. Gerald refused. Torre carried out the murder anyway, strangling a husband to death and attempting to frame it as self-defense. When authorities cornered him, Torre flipped, implicating Gerald. On the stand, Streebent had to testify against his former mentor, exposing Torre's lies, destroying the myth that had built his childhood. The MMA world was rocked. Rogan, who had once repeated Torre's story as gospel at early broadcasts, fell silent. Gerald, caught between loyalty and justice, spiraled, disappearing from major fight promotions altogether. Years later, broken by concussions, lawsuits, failed comebacks, and paranoia, Gerald's life imploded.
911 with the address of the emergency.
Foxtrot Parkway, I just had a guy hit me on purpose with his vehicle. Get back from me, sir. Get back from me.
Shot him there. You shot him?
Yes.
In 2014, during a road rage confrontation in Springfield, Oregon, Gerald Streebent shot and killed an unarmed man with a semi-automatic rifle. He claimed self-defense. He pled guilty to manslaughter. He spent 6 years in prison. By the time he was released in 2020, the UFC was a global phenomenon. Joe Rogan was the biggest podcaster on earth. Gerald Streebent, he had become a ghost. MMA likes to celebrate its wild beginnings, the misfits, the rebels, the savages who built the sport with blood and madness. But some stories are too messy, too close to the bone, too tied to names we still idolize. Joe Rogan won't talk about Gerald Streebent anymore, and rightly so. The man became a target for controversy, a classic tale of one man stepping into the light, and the other never making it out of the shadows.
So that's one of the saddest stories I've ever heard, especially when it comes to the UFC. And I can't even imagine. I mean, like just being in a road raid. I mean, like the guy can't catch a break, and it's so sad. Like seeing somebody just spiral out of control, and I really feel for that guy. And I was joking earlier about UFC and being gay. It's not gay. I mean, they're legit fighters, and I think that I've seen Eddie Bravo kick somebody's butt in person, and it was pretty awesome. But yeah, what are your thoughts, Opa?
Wow, I never knew all about that history and the beginnings of that whole venue and what have you. It was very fascinating.
Yeah, it was so small, and I see Jake in the corner down there.
Yep,
it looks very hectic where he is. But that is my last History's Mysteries clip. I hope you guys enjoyed. So I guess let's just go ahead and bring Jake in.
All right.
Hello, Jacob.
Hey guys.
How's it going?
Now I know I have my feedback loop here again, so I'll try to keep my mic on mute, but we're out here at the park. I recorded a couple live videos on my Facebook page if you wanted to see a little bit of our performance, but I just wrapped up. We are down here in downtown Springfield doing some outreach, passing out some food and drinks. And yeah, man, it's hot. It's hot right now.
Yeah, you look pretty sweaty, man.
Yeah, we just got done performing. It was pretty awesome. But yeah, man, I didn't get to catch the whole History's Mysteries, but I was wondering if you could do a quick sum up for me.
Hold on. So basically, this guy, Gerald Streepend, he I hope I'm saying his name right, but he got into, like, when he was growing up, he started practicing martial arts with this guy who ended up being a fraud, and he invested all of his money into that. And then later on, he met Joe Rogan and became part of the UFC, and that's how he met Eddie Bravo. He was Eddie Bravo's first, like, protege, if you will. And it was, he got beat in his first, thing, and then he got kicked out of the UFC, and then Torre tried to, have somebody murdered and tried to hire him, and he actually called the police. And it's just, the whole thing is just, it's a crazy thing to explain, a crazy story to explain, but altogether it's pretty intense. I know I'm not doing it justice, but you should definitely check it out. Turn your mic on.
Hey, so someone has said TLDR, Jeremiah does not want to leg grapple. That's good to know.
Yeah, I don't, but I know that somebody definitely could beat me up, and I'm not saying that because I said, I mean, I could never wrap my legs around another man. I don't know about you, Jake, but I couldn't. But, I know Eddie Bravo could beat me up. So, a lot of those guys pretty good fighters.
I always made friends with the bullies who protected me.
Yep.
Did you guys have any thoughts from our news segment today?
I thought it was very interesting. I do like the UFO thing. I think that's so fascinating when it's like it's like a jelly, like a gel, like a, I don't know how to explain it. It's just so weird. And I think the whole Charlie Kirk thing really silenced the whole 9/11 thing. Like, nobody was covering the 9/11. Even Tucker Carlson was supposed to put out a several-part docu-series on his network, and he didn't put it out because of what happened to Charlie Kirk. And I thought that was interesting, and I mean, saddened for Charlie Kirk's family. And at least I know that, you know, he's in good hands and he's hanging out with my mom and dad. And I'm sure my dad was like, what are you doing here? Like, so young, you know, but those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I think as the developing FBI chase thing's happening, it's really interesting. They've been jumping from suspect to suspect to suspect, and to me, it's very JFK-esque in how that's happening.
Yeah, definite assassination, and I'm glad that they caught the guy. I was watching it this morning and texted Lindsay as soon as they did, because I mean, we just felt so like sad the last couple of days, or at least I have. It's just so sick that somebody could just do that in front of everybody. And you know, I even saw people online saying, no, that's a movie thing, but all the videos were showing it underneath their shirt and exploding that way. But this, I mean, I saw the footage. I mean, you can't fake that footage. And I know that one day his children are going to see that footage, and it's just going to, I don't know. The whole thing just makes me sad.
Yeah, for sure. It's I have friends today who were talking to me, and they were actually like emotional, you know, just because they saw him represent something really good, and so yeah, it's hit this mass trauma event is hitting a lot of people. So definitely it's why I wanted to cover all the things that kind of happened around the same time, because we can very often kind of overlook the things that slip by, like some of the raids that DHS is doing, the Article 4, all that different kind of stuff are happening right around when this shooting is, and so there's so much attention on the shooting and the trauma that memory takes up in your mind that it causes us to go into a fight or flight kind of mode, because when you have that trauma, it's stress on your mind, on your body, and your body is naturally designed to find that path of least resistance, to get away from discomfort, right? And so that's what makes you controllable when you go through these traumatic experiences. So that's kind of what I wanted to bring out about it.
Yeah, I mean, I was having nightmares about being shot last night, like me and you speaking and being shot on stage, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to stop. And so I don't know, just it is a mass trauma thing, and I think it's because people relate to him. I mean, people relate to that more so than they would relate to anything else that's going on in the news, and it's so sad. Opa, do you have any takes?
Yeah, well, I haven't had any dreams, but now that you mention it, it's probably got to start happening.
I said takes. Did you have any takes? Like any thoughts?
That was my thought and takes.
Oh.
Nice. Well, yeah, that's all I have for this week. They got the live hip hop concert going on over here in the background. You guys can see, you know, good like 50 people out here. Super cool. We're gonna start doing this more often and doing some more live performances, and hopefully we can at some point have like a Skiba News Nation booth set up out here, and we'll start doing some Charlie Kirk conversations on the street. That would be pretty cool. But yeah, it's a really cool, it feels good being out here, and I think it's something we're going to try to do more often. But that's unfortunately why I wasn't able to engage so much this week, guys. But if you are interested in seeing some of the performances, you can go and check my little live streams I record. I put one on Facebook.
Awesome, man. Yeah, everybody go check that out. Make sure you come to TruthorCon 2025. Hopefully you're pushing that out there and you're spreading the word, because it's going to be epic, dude. So I can't wait for that. And I appreciate all you guys for being here and for bearing with us as we do this live broadcast. Sometimes things don't go as they should, but I think it went pretty well. Opa did a great job. So thank you, guys. So with that being said, I just want to say that we love you guys, and we'll see you next week, or we'll see you in a couple of days. We'll see you on Sunday. So we'll see you then. Thanks, guys.
If you like what we do here on Skiba News Nation, please like and subscribe.
and also share with others so we can grow the biggest truth-seeking community on the internet. Huge shout out to all of our Patreons out there. If you like bonus content, you want some extra Skiba News Nation stuff, please go to patreon.com/Skiba News Nation.
Son of the legendary Rob's Jeremiah Skiba.
It's like they don't even want to wake up.